Hello and welcome everyone to another exciting and information-packed program brought to you by our very own Third One Health and Wellness team. The title of today's program is called Relax, Relate, and Rejuvenate. And if you had an opportunity to view the promo for this program today, you know you're in for a treat, as our three expert speakers within their own professional fields of study will provide you with the tools and resources you need to not only relax, relate, and rejuvenate, but would also help you to mitigate, eliminate, and deal with the stressors in your life. First off, I'd like to just thank you again, and we really appreciate your participation in all this. I also want to remind you that we have a YouTube page on our channel, and you can go to it and review some of our previous and current content. We'll try to upload new content on a bi-weekly and monthly basis. And I'd also like to welcome you to email us, because this is a way that we can provide you with the necessary tools and a link directly to our page. You can certainly go to YouTube and type in the search bar, Health and Wellness 31, and that'll get you the results. But the easiest way is just to email us at healthy_well@yahoo.com. That's HEALTHY_WELL@yahoo.com. And we'll provide you with a direct link to that page. And also, we encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and click on those videos. And if you like what you see, just give us a thumbs up and show us how much you like us. And we also encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube page under a channel, because this allows us to be able to keep you updated with new content that we load. And it also helps us to be able to tailor future programs and help us to keep quality content coming to give you all the necessary information and tools that you'll need. And finally, we encourage you to send us your questions. So at any time during this presentation, please, if you have questions for us or something piques your interest or something just doesn't make sense, just give us your questions, because we covered those questions and we love to get those. And we just ask that you would go to your chat room and your respective platforms and type those questions in the chat, and we'll answer them as promptly as possible at the conclusion of this presentation. Also, if perhaps after the presentation ends and you think, oh, I had a question, but I didn't get a chance to ask it, don't worry. Just email us at the email that I presented to you earlier. And again, it's healthy_well@yahoo.com. And again, we'll get to it as quick as possible. And finally, I want you all to remember that we want you to be in good health above all wealth. And now I'll turn it over to our health and wellness teammate, Chris Gilbert, as she goes over the community agreements. Take it away, Chris.
All right. Thanks so much, Dewan. Welcome back, everyone. So we begin our program tonight. I would like to introduce you to our community agreements. If you can see them on the screen, they'll be up shortly. Thank you so much for putting those up for us. What we'd like to do is just go over a few of these. We've got quite a few on the screen, but the most important ones are to take space and make space. Try to condense your questions and your comments and direct them to the speakers to make space for others. We do encourage you to take advantage of our comment section on YouTube and Facebook as well, and lean into discomfort. No question is a bad question. The questions that you have may be someone else's question as well. The third thing is uphold what's confidential. Please maintain the confidentiality of the questions and comments that you see in our chat or anything that you may see in the comments. Do your best. In doing your best, again, we ask that you keep in mind that we all are learning things together. So tonight we ask that you would share any information or anything that you would like, because we learn from one another. So if possible, please acknowledge that you agree to these agreements with a yes or a thumbs up in the chat or the comment section. And the next slide, I just want everyone to be aware that there are some hard things that may be in tonight's seminar. on mental health issues. And this slide that is coming up next is to make sure that you take care of yourself. Find that happy place that that you may have in the back of your mind, or use any visual that you would like to use, because hearing hard things in today's seminar can be cueing for participants. A trauma cue is a signal from one or more of your senses that sets off a response to past trauma. So we invite you to take care of yourself as needed. And in case you are cued, you are welcome to step aside from the virtual room, do a little doodling, take deep breaths, as well as any other strategies that you may use to take care of yourself are encouraged. So we would like to move forward into our next session and ask that Dr. Esther will come in and introduce our speakers for the evening.
Thanks so much, Chris. I am so excited to introduce today's speakers. Dr. Anthony Frank is a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and he was inspired to pursue natural medicine by his grandmother, Veronica, and her expertise in botanical medicine. And as a result, he's earned his Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine at Bastyr University. Dr. Frank is licensed by the State of California Naturopathic Medicine Committee, and he is a member of California's Naturopathic Doctors Association. Dr. Frank also has advanced training in delivering IV nutrition and in regenerative injection therapy. He finds great joy in serving African, Caribbean, and African American people, with his emphasis being on minorities and people of color. So welcome, Dr. Frank. Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis wants to impact. I just want to go back. One more thing on Dr. Frank. Treating the cause, the whole person, emphasizing prevention and using the healing power of nature. That is how Dr. Frank hopes to and plans to impact the world around him. So welcome, Dr. Frank. Dr. Marsha-Gail Davis wants to impact the world by focusing on lifestyle medicine, prevention, and health equality. She is a Yale-trained primary care internist and preventionist, board certified in internal medicine, and has recently completed a master's in public health with concentration in epidemiology. She currently serves on the board of directors of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and in that role, she chairs HEAL, which is Health Equity Achieved Through Lifestyle Medicine. She is committed to helping her patients and her community achieve health through prevention and disease reversal, reducing morbidity and mortality from preventable diseases, especially in communities of color. Welcome, Dr. Davis. Miss Alvona Whyte's mission is to engage in diverse experiences that embody the fullness of life, to express gratitude, and to manifest peace and good health, and encouraging others with a cheerful disposition. She is a certified personal trainer and group exercise instructor who loves all forms of exercise, incorporating power, strength, yoga, mobility into each one of her sessions. Ms. Whyte is a certified physical therapist assistant, and in addition, she holds degrees in integrated marketing communications from Emerson College and business administration from Syracuse University. Alvona's training philosophy is to use motivation, intensity, and knowledge for challenging workouts that will inspire you not only to love the results, but to love and embrace the process of becoming fit. Welcome, Ms. Whyte. And now sit back, relax, relate, and rejuvenate.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're gonna get set up with our presentations shortly. But just to intro, we just wanna say good afternoon to everyone, and that we are so excited to join you today in a discussion about our health, and really a discussion about healing our bodies. Today, we will be talking about a very common topic, which is stress management. with a focus on exercise as one of the most potent weapons against stress. And now Dr. Frank will share a bit as well.
Yes, over the past year and a half, we have lived through one of the most stressful times in our lives. We've had time to take note of the impact of stress on our minds, on our bodies, and whether that impact has been helpful or unhelpful, unhealthy or healthy.
With that information, we can not only take inventory of what's going on, but we can also take control over how this stress is affecting us. We have the power to minimize the effects of stress and learn effective strategies to go from surviving to thriving.
Awesome. So let us all start at ground zero, and we'll actually just define what stress is. And so stress is neither good nor bad, but is really just our body's general response to any challenge or change. And stress can be caused by both unpleasant and pleasant stimuli, and can result in both unpleasant and pleasant stimuli. Stress is also something that has two components, and a mental component and a physiologic component. With the mental component, our body's recognition of stress depends on what we perceive to be stressful. With the physiologic component, our bodies undergo a series of changes that lead to preparation of our bodies to deal with the stress. And this includes an increased heart rate, more rapid breathing, blood being diverted to our muscles instead of organs, and energy in the form of glucose being made available so that we are ready to go. Next slide, please. Perfect. So when we think about stress, so we have a sense of what stress is. And it is important to note that our bodies were actually designed to respond to stress. We call this the stress response, or the flight, fight, or freeze response, where we can respond by taking flight, or by putting up a fight, or potentially freezing in place and not knowing exactly how to respond to the stress. We also have good stress and bad stress. Good stress is also known as eustress and describes a state of stress that increases our performance, like studying well for a test and being prepared to ace it. Bad stress, on the other hand, is known as distress and describes a state of stress that leads to dysfunction in our bodies. Typically, stress that persists continuously over time without cessation will become distress, like chronic anxiety, for example. The stress response is an expected response, but can result in either eustress or distress. Next slide. So how does stress manifest in our bodies and our minds? Well, we can describe that in 4 words: our mood, our mental capacity, our muscles, and maladaptive behaviors, or behaviors that don't serve us in the long run. So from an emotional standpoint, stress can present as anger, depression, anxiety, negative thinking. From a mental standpoint, stress can present as being unable to concentrate, or a poor memory, or indecisiveness. From a physical standpoint, stress can present as headaches, muscle pain, stomach issues, weight gain, and sleep issues. And from a behavioral standpoint, stress can present as stress eating, or the opposite, a lack of appetite, withdrawal from others, use of substances, or explosive reactions. Next slide. And this slide shows us the different systems in the body that are impacted by stress. And this slide doesn't even cover all of them. First, with our cardiovascular system, stress can lead to increased risk of heart attacks and strokes due to hypertension and cardiac muscle and blood vessel dysfunction. Stress can decrease our immune responses, and Dr. Frank will share more on that. Stress can lead to dysfunction in the intestines and the colon, the GI system. As we know well, stress can affect our cognition and our mood. Next, stress can also damage our kidney due to chronic hypertension. Then stress can increase the release of the stress hormone known as cortisol, which Dr. Frank will also share more on. Stress can result in flares of skin disorders like eczema or psoriasis. Stress can also have an impact on sexual function. Stress can lead to tense muscles and affect bone density via the hormone system. And stress can trigger panic attacks, making it difficult to breathe or worsen lung issues a person may already have, such as asthma or COPD. Next slide.
So our immune system is that defense team in our body. So you'll see from the next slide that our immune system helps generally in defending our bodies from invasion from outside organisms. Most common, of course, are bacteria, and as of this pandemic, viruses, which have always been around, but viruses are one of those things that our immune system helps to fight against. It involves other organs. So you may be surprised that your gut has an immune system, your respiratory tract, these various organs, just like Dr. Davis stated earlier, help in actually fighting the various ways that different organisms can get into our body. These are mainly physical attacks by bacteria, viruses, and fungi or funguses. But in terms of stress causes a physical effect in that it decreases our immune system. So let's put it this way. When we are stressed, we tend to not make the best decisions when it comes to our food and our lifestyle and the things that we do. So there are these little cells in our body, specifically little immune cells called neutrophils. Neutrophils are really beneficial at fighting bacteria. But when we tend to have stress, increased stress that is, and also when we tend to not make the best food decisions, it's been studied that increased intake of sugar dampens our neutrophils. It kind of inactivates them, causes them not to work as efficiently. And then on top of that, that leads us to become sick. So here you see stress, which is most of the time mental, emotional, now impacting us physically. So from the next slide, we'll jump into the stress hormone, cortisol. So cortisol, one of those hormones that is produced by our adrenal glands. These are two little triangular glands that sit on the top of our kidneys. Cortisol actually helps in a lot of things in the body, but blood sugar regulation, blood pressure regulation, and of course, since it's dealing with blood sugar, it's dealing with weight as well. So when our stress levels are high, we tend to output a large amount of cortisol. And that in turn, as the slide shows, increases our blood pressure. It increases our blood sugar, which can affect persons with diabetes or even a family history of diabetes. It definitely lowers our immune system. And last but not least, it causes us to increase in weight, especially around the midsection. So with all of those factors and this stress hormone cortisol, it tends to impact our immune system and leads us to feel even worse in a stressful situation.
Excellent. So unmanaged stress that persists over time, also known as chronic stress or distress, impacts the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, which Dr. Frank just explained in particular about the hormone cortisol, and overall metabolism in our bodies. In addition, chronic stress can lead us into behaviors that hurt us in the long run, such as stress eating, particularly high sugar, high fat, and high salt foods, or lack of physical activity. And the combination of the two can result in a common syndrome we in the medical community know as metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome consists of 5 criteria: increased blood pressure, high triglycerides, which is a form of fat in the body, a large waistline, low levels of good cholesterol, and elevating fasting blood sugar. So you can see the link between the hormone dysfunction if your cortisol levels are very high and they persistently stay high because stress continues to exert this pressure on the body. And once metabolic syndrome is in place or is active, it's particularly important because it greatly increases the risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease, which is the #1 killer of Americans. Next slide.
So with that being said, understanding that stress increasing our blood pressure, and in this case, increasing our weight, we can see here that number one, a lot of different cultures look at weight differently. In some cultures, having a bit more of a round, robust figure is embraced. But through the medical side of things, we see that actually having increased abdominal fat can lead to other detrimental things. So as you can see from the picture here, sugar in the form of donuts, cupcakes, we've all been there. We've been stressed. We want to eat something. And the thing that we tend to lean toward is something that is usually a higher carbohydrate, or simply said, something that contains a higher amount of sugar. So our cardiovascular system is a key system, just as Dr. Davis said, that takes the impact of this. With the sugar component, and we look at heart disease, and it's not just based on, blood pressure or blood sugar. You see that metabolic syndrome has all these different components that come together that then, feed this number one killer within the United States, and I'm sure within most of the world. So stress eating can lead to a lot of these metabolic syndrome symptoms. And we're going to try to avoid and clear our bodies by doing what we call, or what I like to emphasize as, a detox. So clean and clear is how we want to be. Detoxing is better than diet. A lot of persons or people tend to say, hey, I'm on a diet. I want to lose weight. I want to try to clear some of my body of all this, excess weight that's going on. But detoxification, which is primarily done in the liver, is a great way to get rid of toxins, support your body in losing weight, and give you a better, long, impactful, result. So some people, we tend to want to lose weight, but sometimes we find it again. So the key thing with detoxes is we're aimed at not finding that weight once we lose it. Detoxification is supported by a lot of factors: the amount of water that we eat or drink, the amount of food or types of food that we eat, and the activity that we do. So what this all impacts is what we call our emunctories, the way that we open up or clear the body of things. So you'll see skin sweating. You've got to get active to actually sweat and move. You'll see the lungs getting rid of gaseous waste, which primarily is carbon dioxide. You've got to get active to actually be able to breathe a little bit deeper, really get into the recesses of your lungs. With your kidneys, and urine, Dr. Marsha-Gail, Dr. Davis spoke about, urine being one of those that's impacted. Well, if you don't drink enough water, which we tend to do when we're stressed, then you concentrate a lot of your urine, and that can lead to other health issues. And then, of course, constipation is a very, very common thing that tends to happen when we're stressed. We don't get up, we don't move around, which means we don't go to the bathroom as much. And our emunctories are ways that we clear toxins. So Alvona, Ms. Whyte is going to talk about some activity that we're going to do, but we definitely want to be able to clear these emunctories and support our body. But next, we'll talk about stress and a little bit more what we do when we are stressed and what happens. So with stress, we'll see that the behaviors that we tend to produce are not the most positive that we want to have. Stress can lead us to engage in unhealthy practices. So distorted thinking, anxiety and depression, social withdrawal. When you're stressed, you want to be by yourself. You want to manage it all by yourself. And that leads to isolation. Poor food choices, which is a major thing. That's where the physical impact comes in. And then stress eating, substance use, and even substance abuse, poor sleep, and the key thing, inactivity. So stress is desserts just spelled backwards. So those two go hand in hand. We tend to feed off of the desserts, but these behaviors create a pathway to poor health and a poor body, poor immune system. And that's what we're aimed at today, to try to help us to manage the stress in a good way and to divert us away from these physical things that can happen when we are stressed. So our mind-body connection.
And What we have come to understand during this presentation is that there is a direct mind and body connection. We encounter a situation, the mind perceives this stimuli as a stress, then, like an on switch, the stress response is turned on, which leads to a domino effect of physical changes in our bodies. And as we have already learned from our discussion thus far, the impact of stress on our bodies is very real and can be damaging over time if it persists unmanaged. So it becomes even more important to learn how to manage stress in the mind first to prevent the downstream effects on our bodies. And so here are 8 keys that can help us put stress to rest. First, movement. It is in all caps because it is one of the most potent ways to manage stress effectively. The effects of exercise on our mood rival and even surpass the impact or the effect of antidepressants and anxiety medications. And it's free. So movement is an actual medicine. I love this quote on exercise by Dr. Robert Butler on the next slide. He's the former director of the National Institute of Aging, because it sums it up the best. It says, if exercise could be packed into a pill, it would be the single most widely prescribed and beneficial medicine in the nation. So back to our keys, our 8 keys. Then we have mindfulness techniques like deep breathing, yoga, stretching, meditation, and prayer, which are all techniques that actually bring us to the present moment. And as Pops tells us, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So focus on the now, because that's something you can control.
Now, number 3 is mark the mind, or what I like to implement is journaling. Now, journaling is a great way where we can take all of our thoughts, our emotions, just everything that's been running around in our mind all day and put it down on paper. Some of the time it'll be you put down 2 sentences. Most of the time it'll be that you put down huge paragraphs. But the key thing when you're journaling is to, yes, put down all the day's events, put down all your stressors, but take time to give some thanks, take time to put some gratitude in there, which we'll stress on a little bit more as well. But embracing and empowering yourself with good things that you may have done throughout the day is another way that you combat stress in your life. So put it down on paper, but always embrace and hug yourself with some gratitude at the end of that journaling throughout that day.
Then we have me messages, or messages of affirmation and encouragement to yourself. My mother always tells me that you don't wait for anyone to encourage or affirm you. And my friend and colleague in this presentation today, Alvona Whyte, is the manifestation of this, and she inspires me. So you encourage and affirm yourself. You build yourself up. You tell yourself you're doing a good job, that you are capable. And that helps to reprogram how you think, because you're giving yourself that positive feedback. Then we have mind makeover, which is really re-engineering our thoughts. So when we are stressed, we can get into very distorted thinking patterns, like catastrophizing, which is to really essentially exaggerate a situation to the worst possible case scenario, or focusing on all the bad and not identifying the positive that may be in a situation, or having black or white thinking where it's either or and there's no nuance or gray area. And these thought patterns are actually directly linked to anxiety and depression, which is why one of the most effective treatments for anxiety and depression is something called CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which actually targets this type of thought pattern very specifically to re-engineer how we think. And so we can re-engineer our thoughts by first noticing them and paying attention to what we are saying to ourselves, especially negative self-talk, and then checking them with evidence to focus on what is really true. Is it true that I'm really the worst person in the world? Is that actually true? And not just a thought. And we can de-escalate stress when we begin to think of the worst scenario by thinking of other possible and realistic scenarios that could also happen instead of just one worst case scenario. And this was actually something I learned from Dr. Zafon Lister in medical school. He actually explained this concept of thinking of all the possible strategies in that situation so you don't focus on the worst one. Then we have magnifying thankfulness, which Dr. Frank was mentioning, practicing gratitude. Studies show incredible benefits to practicing gratitude on a daily basis, and it's a practice. So just like anything that's a practice, we actually learn how to do it better over time. And practicing gratitude has the ability to change our perspective from one of deficit to one of benefit.
Mother Nature. So one of the ways that you can actually practice gratitude, and one way that you definitely put things into perspective, is getting out into nature. One of the naturopathic principles is actually the healing power of nature. And what that entails is not only, botanical herbs and nutrients, it is also the way the body has an innate ability, the way we're created to heal and to grow and to regenerate. So getting out into nature, doing a little bit of grounding, which essentially is just get outside, take off your shoes, get into some grass, go to the beach, get outside into nature and just feel, the earth below you. Observe the ants. Look at the ants, it says. Just look at the creatures around you. When you go to the beach, feel that ocean breeze, that warmth. All of these things contain various ions. It contains various nutrients, and of course, sodium chloride, salt, and all these different things that help to calm our nervous systems, bring us back down to just stability and what we call homeostasis, just a stable equalness in our body. So doing our best to get out into nature, look at the stars, count them if you can. I'm sure you won't be able to, but these are great ways that you'll be able to bring things into perspective, realize how sometimes tiny we are, but yet we feel that we're the biggest thing, or the biggest thing in our life is impacting us the greatest, but it really puts things into perspective.
Lastly, music has a powerful effect on us as humans, and we can use it to our advantage. One idea is to create a playlist of all your favorite songs and play it when you're feeling down to shift your mood to a more positive one. And so the list that we've provided to you are all really easy techniques to put in place, but the literature really supports that these types of techniques make a difference in how we are able to live and the kind of joy and the kind of just positive experience that we can have in our lives. And it's something that we can just start with one step. It's just one step that's necessary to kind of move forward. So now that we have shared all this information with you, it's time to put some of it into action. Alvona will show us how to take the key of exercise and get into the driver's seat of our health. But before she does that, we just want to kind of highlight the fact that social connection is also healing and helps us to thrive. So getting connected with others and finding support along your health journey is integral for your success, because group equals goals. And when you're in a group, you're able to reach those goals together, because groups provide accountability, encouragement, and the right perspective when the going gets tough. You have a group of people to kind of help you navigate that rough waters. It will always get a little challenging, but that's where your support comes in. And we can start that right here at 31st. So that's something for us to keep in mind. So Alvona, we'll let you take it away.
Hi, everyone. Well, welcome to the exercise tips segment of the Relax, Relate, and Rejuvenate workshop. So I just want to say thank you to Dr. Davis and Dr. Frank for laying out these foundational frameworks of how to manage this stretch. So we're actually going to start with a quick stretch break. You can play video one now, please. Hey, everybody. I just want to give you guys a quick stretch break. So if you can, just go ahead and stand up and we'll begin. And video two. Deep breath in. Exhale, release. Separate the legs. Again, deep breath in. Exhale, release. I'm going to drop one arm down. I'm going to stretch across. The other hand is on the hip or the thigh. Reach. Good. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Deep breath in. Exhale, reach. Good job. One more. We're going to go forward. Exhale and release. That's a quick stretch break for you, brought to you by Alvona, also known as Coach V. Great job to everyone that actually moved. And if you didn't, that's okay too. There's no worries. You'll still be able to start managing your stress today. That was one of the techniques, which is just deep breathing. Hey everybody, I just want to give you guys a quick stretch break. So exhale, release. Separate the legs. Again, deep breath in. Definitely, it's okay to take extra breaths and just to relax. That's perfect. So I want to be able to foster a healthy sense of engaging in fitness activity long enough and at a good enough intensity to break a sweat. And my tips are simple. Start sweating. All right, that sounds really easy, but I have some news for you. One day and someday are not real days. So don't wait to start on a Monday or to start next month. Just start, okay? That's the best that you can do. Whether you are, wheelchair bound, walker bound, or you're complaining of back, hip, knee, shoulder, ankle pain, start. Okay, get your medical advice and just go for it. And that's gonna segue right into sweating consistently and having patience with yourself. Especially if you do have some of these functional limitations, it's gonna take a little bit of time for you to acclimate to your new strengthening program. And that's okay, guys. You wanna have some patience with yourself, okay? That also helps to avoid or prevent injury. And also, if you experience pain or soreness, that's okay too, especially when you're starting a new exercise program. That's totally normal, no matter what level you're starting at. Even elite athletes have pain and soreness when they do their workouts too. So why wouldn't you? Come on. Then we want to fail-proof your sweat. That means we have to make it easy for you to do your exercise, whichever exercise you'll choose. You want to build some habits that will lend towards that. Whether you want to put a mat at the end of your bed, so as soon as you get out of bed, you're like, oh, there's my yoga mat, let me do something. Or, putting your sneakers by the door. Or what actually, real talk, happened to me yesterday. I was so tired when I got home, but it was such a great day out. I was like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk. And on the way home, I was like, struggling to stay awake. I was like, this isn't going to happen. But I had my fail-proofs built in. I have a jump rope in my car. I have resistance bands. I have sneakers. So as soon as I got home, I didn't even bring my bags up. I just literally was like, I know I'm not coming back out. Just grabbed the jump rope, did 5 minutes. Woo! Felt great. Let's do a little 5 minutes more. And I ended up doing a 10-minute workout, just like that. And I felt so much better. So you want to just have, those fail proofs built in for you. And you want to have it to be convenient, set some goals, and know what you're going to do. Okay, so you're not just guessing and trying to figure it out on the spot. Next slide, please. So you want to share your sweat. My favorite is group exercise. Pause the video. So my favorite is group exercise for sure, but you can go this fitness journey alone, but you'll find a little bit more success if you are working out with a partner. There's fitness events that you can participate in. And then my favorite, what I was saying, is group exercise. So I have a video here of one of my group exercise classes. And these ladies and gentlemen are really willing to put in the hard work. And I design creative workouts for them. And that's just, one aspect. You can go ahead and play the video. So you can see these guys are putting in some work. We've got some agility ladders, we've got some weights, we've got some mat, and everyone's working at their capacity. When you have a group exercise instructor, they're gonna be very encouraging and motivating to help you get to where you're going. And the people that you see in these classes are gonna become your friends. They're gonna go from strangers to friends because you're consistently showing up and they're going to be pushing you right along. And sometimes you'll say, hey, if that person can do it, I can do that too. And that will definitely encourage you along. You can play the next video as well. So there are fun runs, there are races, there are fitness events, any dance class that you can think of, I've been. African dance, Zumba, hip hop, soca, everything that's dance, I'm there, I have fun. They have cycling events. There are, what do you call them? Spartan mud runs and mud races. So many different options that even if you sign up alone, by the time you get there, there are people that helps to build that sense of community and that fosters you. So you will definitely be able to transition into sweating with accountability. So you'll have people that you'll see consistently. You'll either be signed up for a fun run or a race that you'll want to be able to participate, and you'll have dates. You definitely want to set dates, okay? You want to schedule your time so that you are committed to working out at this time. If you have an accountability partner, send text messages, start a group chat, social media posts, whatever it is. This is the part that you want to be firm about, okay? You want to be accountable to make sure that this is actually happening for you in your life. Next slide, please. So then you also want to challenge your sweat. Okay, one of the things that people do is they show up to class and they want to pick up the lightest weights. And I have to tell them, I'm like, if your bag, baby bag, work bag, briefcase, you know, your grocery items, your gallon of milk is heavier than the weight you just picked up, we're gonna have a problem, okay? So it's really designed for real life. So in order to challenge your sweat, you wanna safely elevate your heart rate. And you'll see on the chart here, based on your age, what the target heart rate is. Between 50 to 85% is usually a safe range for you to be. In general, I like to use the sweating term because it's your body's way of letting you know that it's working. So, I mean, everyone's going to have different levels of function, but they kind of get you there. So when you go to these different classes, you'll be able to chart that. There are ways to take it manually. Some of you have fitness watches and that does it automatically. That makes it even easier. But there are definitely options for you to challenge yourself. You can also increase your intensity of your workouts. You can increase the time or the duration. You can also add an additional rep. Instead of doing 10, maybe you're doing 12 today. Instead of 12, maybe 15. And you can increase the resistance that you're using. It doesn't have to be weights. It can be resistance bands. Some people like medicine balls, kettlebells, or household items. I always use the example of Costco laundry detergent. That stuff is heavy. So, I mean, if you want to go around and grab some laundry detergent, by all means, do that too, okay? That's other ways that you can challenge your sweat. Next slide. And last but certainly not least, I want everyone to have fun when you're sweating. There are so many exercise options that are out there. When people tell me that they don't like exercise, my response is that you just haven't found something that's for you yet. All right, there are plenty of options out there. You're gonna start with whatever's most accessible to you, understanding your functional limitations and your body's capacity, as well as what may be around. And sometimes you are gonna have to go it alone until you get into that, you know, even just signing up for a gym, maybe you'll find a class there and then start meeting people that way. But whatever it is, don't be afraid to, like we said in the beginning, start. Swimming, walking, those are low impact activities, okay? Those are designed specifically with purposes of easing the transition. If you have to do exercises sitting down to start, do that. Do whatever you got to do to move, baby. I want everyone sweating, all right? And then you can always progress to medium and high impact activities. So the classes that you saw that I was teaching, I generally do body sculpting, muscle conditioning, or high intensity interval training. So we really break it out and have a sweat. But no matter what you do, I want you to have fun sweating. So let's go sweat. That concludes our presentation at this time. Next slide. For the relax, relates, and rejuvenate. So at this time, we're going to transition over to any questions that may be coming up. Brother Dewan is going to take us out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. That was great. I'm not seeing any questions so far, but I just want to highlight a few things in that everything was very visually appealing, and it made me look at stress differently now, especially in terms of dessert. It's stress spelled backwards, and metabolic syndrome. That was very interesting. And I felt like I really wanted to get moving during the video, and I did do the stretches. So thank you for that. This was really nice. Again, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat room. And so with that being said, if anyone does have any additional questions that they may think of, please go to the emails that are listed here in our chat room. That's healthy_well@yahoo.com and 31living_our-best-life@gmail.com. And as I'm saying this, I do have one question. So here we go. The question is, what does an elevated heart rate mean? What does an elevated heart rate mean?
So I feel all of us could answer this question. I'll start it. Elevated heart rate just means that how fast your heart is beating. That's called your heart rate. And that heart rate can increase depending on different things. If you're exercising, the heart rate can increase. And so you can have an elevated heart rate when you're exercising. That was what Alvona was referring to. She can talk more about that too. But elevated heart rate just means the heart rate, which is how fast your heart is beating. And it can increase depending.
Okay, I'll continue on from there. So in the exercise world, everything that Dr. Gail just said is absolutely correct. One of the easy ways that we do it is actually just measuring your radial pulse right in here. 2 fingers on the inner part, basically follow your thumb bone, and you can measure it right here with a stopwatch. And if you do a full 60 seconds, that's going to get you your best resting heart rate. From that position, anything above that is going to be your elevated. So when we're working out, I usually do check in with my clients at our rest breaks, and I'll say, hey guys, I'm at 1 whatever, what are you guys at? And everyone will stop, and we'll do the fast version, which is a 10-second heart rate check again here, or if you want to even be more accurate, you can come right inside here in the carotid. But a lot of times, because their heart rate's beating so fast at that point, it really just, they're trying to catch their breath, have a sip of water, and check their heart rate at the same time. But we check it here to make sure that everyone's still within those safe ranges. Again, those ranges vary based on your age, so it's not going to be the same for everyone. Myself, as a trained professional and also a physical therapist assistant, I know kind of where everyone should be based on the ages that they tell me, so we can make sure that elevating their heart rate in a safe way and that we're not going too much overstressing our heart, because we want to do everything safely. I hope.
Yeah, and I wanted to build on top of that, even in saying that elevating your heart rate is actually good to do on a daily basis within the safe ranges. Your heart rate elevates because your muscles are active. Even your heart is a muscle, so it wants to get more oxygen. It wants to produce more energy. So elevating your heart rate, as well as making sure to breathe, not hyperventilate, not, breathe in and out really quickly, but just take some good deep breaths, are a great way to get good oxygen, have a really good workout, and make sure that you're safely getting your heart rate elevated, and actually by breathing, bringing it back down to safe, manageable levels.
Great, thank you so much. So we have a couple more questions for you all, and I assume this is for the entire group of panelists. It says, what's the best way to start a detox? What's the best way to start a detox?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So one of the best ways to start a detox is by sweating. We've been speaking about it all afternoon. Sweating is one of the the major ways that we clear toxins from our body, because when we sweat, that means our body, our muscles are moving. We have to break down fat at some point because there are different phases of energy. So breaking down fat means that we're clearing the body of those toxins in that fat. Now, when we go to the liver side of things, there are various herbs such as milk thistle, dandelion. There are various methods such as lemon water, apple cider vinegar. All of these contain various nutrients that help with detoxification. So just a regular way to even start detoxing is, number one, go out, get active. Number two, introduce a little bit more fluid into your daily lifestyle in the form of whether you add some lemon water to it or some lemon to your water, add in some electrolytes, being sure to make sure you have a great meal that's full of fiber, and fiber means raw vegetables, fruits. All of these contain the nutrients and the fiber that are going to help with clearing or detoxing your body.
Would anyone like to add anything to that, or is that?
I just wanted to add that, you know, your body, just like Dr. Frank was talking about the liver, that is the body, one of the body's detoxification centers, the liver and the kidney. And so you want to optimize the work of those organs. And we also want to think about if those organs are tasked in any way or have stress on them in any way, it makes it more difficult for them to work. And we can put a lot of stress on those organs with just what we do on a regular basis. As you discussed, a fiber-rich diet is really important. Why? Because our body actually becomes what we eat. So what we eat turns into those organs. And so we want to make sure that we're giving those organs the right building blocks. We're giving those organs the right sources of energy, the right nutrients, so that they work at the best level, the highest level, to do their jobs properly.
Thank you, Dr. Frank and Dr. Davis, for those responses. We also have another question / comment here. It says, okay, I like to exercise, but why does my head hurt? Is it because I'm doing something wrong? And I'll repeat that one more time. I like to exercise, but my head hurts. Is it because I'm doing something wrong?
So we won't be able to give any kind of specific advice to your situation just because we don't know your full background. Kind of depends on what you mean by your head hurts or what is actually happening. Depends on what you're doing for exercise as well. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, it's not causing you to feel so uncomfortable that you're feeling like you are unable to continue or that you might pass out. If you're feeling that way, then you might want to step back and reassess what type of exercise you're doing. And you also want to make sure that you've checked in with your physician, make sure that it's appropriate for you to engage in exercise depending on your specific clinical background, your past medical history. So you want to make sure everything that you're doing is safe. And if you have any questions about that, your doctor is a resource, exercise experts are a resource that can help kind of navigate those issues.
And I'd just like to add that pain is your body's way of letting you know that something's not quite right. So don't try to exercise through actual pain. That, just like Dr. Davis said, you want to consult a professional. They can actually go through your health conditions with you and make sure that what you are doing is actually beneficial for you, because you want it to help you, not hurt you, okay? Sometimes if you have headaches and stuff, that's where the physical therapy side can come in, because there are definitely some exercises that can be done to help relieve neck pain and headaches and well, I was gonna say suboccipital pain, but yeah, basically the pain at the back of your neck, and that can create headaches in different areas. However, again, you would have to go and actually be evaluated by someone that is a professional that can help you out, okay?
And to build on top of that too, when we look at the body, definitely I agree with everything Dr. Davis and Alvona said, but when we look at the body, we look at it structurally. And if structurally something is off, which is what Alvona was getting at the point of, making sure that, things are in line and correct. If something is off there, no matter what type of exercise we do, we will produce some pain. So definitely go see a medical professional. If you're just walking and you're starting to get a headache or starting to feel various pains, don't push through it. Take your time, step back, and make sure that your body is in line to actually be able to exercise.
And I'd just like to add one more thing. I actually had a point on the original version of the slides and I took it off, and it was about posture. 90% of my job as a physical therapist assistant is cueing people into their posture, what they are doing, how they are doing it, and how it's affecting the overall systems of your body. So if your neck is protruded forward, that's going to create a lot of tension, not only in your neck, but in your upper back, in your lower back. If your hips are off, and some people say they have, hip pain or knee pain or ankle pain, or, oh, this old injury from 30 years ago, and blah, blah, blah. It all affects you, right? Because now you're throwing something out of whack out of your body, and then you're trying to, on top of that, do all of this extra movement. So it definitely helps to have good posture and understand what that means. Go see a professional.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And we also have a question that says, how do I start if I am overweight? I assume that it was associated with the exercise question, and it probably runs into what we just discussed. But the question is, how do I start if I am overweight?
So I'd actually like my naturopathic and internist doctors to start, because that's where I send people. Let's start there.
I think, a lot of people think that in order to lose weight, they have to exercise as the primary way to do that. That's actually one of the myths that people hear a lot and gets kind of perpetuated in our just general kind of public conversation. But when we're talking about weight loss, the first thing is that weight loss isn't your goal. Weight loss is an indicator of what's happening in your body. Weight is an indicator of what's happening in the body. So weight gain kind of tells us what's happening. And we relate that back to our discussion on metabolic syndrome, that weight is telling us something's going on. It's really a signal. Okay. So if we're trying to get towards a healthier space, weight loss is going to be a byproduct of us getting into a healthier space with our bodies. When we're eating the foods that our body actually wants, when we're eating foods that love us back, when we're engaging in movement, which is our natural intuitive behavior, for us to not be moving is very abnormal. And that's something that's been socialized and acculturated out of us as human beings. For us to sit down for hours on end in one day is very abnormal. But because our culture is very powerful, it teaches us that's the normal. So that's the normal. So it ends up leading us into this place where weight gain is now the normal. And so with that, you want to focus first on nutrition, because you get the biggest bang for your buck there, because we have to think about how did that weight get there. And weight gain is part, or how the body stores energy is primarily through adipose tissue, which is what we call fat or excess weight. And so your body naturally stores fat, or adipose stores fat or energy in adipose tissue as just a way that it stores energy. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if that storage becomes really excessive, then we get to a point of excess weight. So we want to primarily interfere with that, or address that, target that with what we're eating, because that allows us to change the energy balance in our bodies. And when you have excess weight, we call that a positive energy balance. So you want to shift yourself into a negative energy balance by what you're taking in terms of calories. And then exercise is more of, as I said, it's the medicine of everything. So it helps us to maintain several systems and all the various systems in our bodies. It helps us to not only prevent weight gain, but to keep weight off. And it's really more of this kind of additional treatment when it comes to weight loss, but it's not the main goal. So if you're not able to engage in exercise, first off, focus on your diet, what you're eating, and stress management, because again, cortisol definitely interferes with how your body regulates and stores fat and regulates other hormones. And think about exercise or movement that's going to be doable for you. So Alvona talked about seated exercises. She can give more information on that. Those are swimming. Those are options that are going to be doable for you.
Yeah, and even to build on what Dr. Davis spoke about, when it comes to weight gain, weight loss, being overweight, like we've been harping, we want to make sure that you start off slow. Food is one of the best ways, and actually is one of the most impactful ways to change your weight. But also, if you want to start introducing activity, go with things that are easier on the joints and on the body. So that's where you get into a little bit of pool work or into the water, because what that does is alleviate some of that pressure and stress on the bones on the body for right now, and allows you to still be active and move a bit. So from there, you get into, slower activity, walking, and ramping it up slowly as you go. But food, yes, food is your medicine. Food is going to be one of the best ways that you can shift that energy from being, just you gaining the adipose tissue of fat, which once again stores those toxins, to now shift you into the realm where your body's easily burning it. Because honestly, looking at calories, fat or adipose tissue is one of the higher ways that we can burn for energy. So that's where ketogenic diets and all these various things come in. But in terms of being overweight and having the excess weight, burning that fat with the type of foods that we're going to eat is going to be the best way to get started on, activity, weight loss, and overall feeling and being healthier.
Exactly. I always caution people against exercising for weight loss. We can exercise to feel better. We can exercise for mood enhancements. I love the endorphins that come from exercising. It's a nice high. Runner's high is real. But exercising for weight loss kind of makes it a little bit more of a bummer. I am trying to say a nice way. However, when you do the nutritional aspect and you actually pair it with the exercise portion, you're going to see the most of your benefits from that. So it's really the combination of the two. Exercise to have fun, exercise to get stronger, exercise to feel your power, to just know that you are capable of doing something that you didn't know that you were capable of doing before. So I really, really encourage people when they start to exercise to really reframe their why and what's happening in their body and in their mind as you go through. The examples of the videos that you guys saw, everybody's body looked different, okay? And they were healthy in different ways. I've had one of the ladies who, actually I've had a couple of them who've been able to come off of their diabetes medications and who've been able to reverse high blood pressure. So this is like legit life-changing. It's not about, yes, they've lost weight in the process, right? But I tell them, okay, you lose inches, that's all good and great, but you're here. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, but you're here another day for your kids. You're here another day for your grandkids. You can run and play with them. You can enjoy, life a little bit better. So we really focus on that aspect. And if you lose weight, then great.
Thank you. I think this one's probably more for Dr. Frank, but certainly you all are welcome to chime in. It says, do you recommend some of the more invasive ways to detox? For example, a colon cleanse?
Yeah, everything does come with levels to it. So a colon cleanse can come in various forms. Of course, from taking specific herbs to truly try to clean out your colon. There are ways in which I'd rather a colon cleanse, since we're on the topic, be done with just having an increased amount of fiber or having more veggies in the diet than when some people think of colon cleanses, usually sometimes a laxative involved. So colon cleanses are a great way. That's, I'd say, the third level of getting into a detox. But then you also have milder ways. When it comes to your colon, you have colon hydrotherapy, which is a way that you're able to clear your colon and actually stimulate detoxification. And that's simply, inserting fluid into your colon and then, having you evacuate it out. So yes, I do endorse it, just depending on how you start off. I wouldn't want you to go from riding a bicycle to go ahead and drive a semi truck. It takes levels to get up to it. But at the same time, these levels are good because as you start detoxing and your body gets used to detoxification, the more you do, the more metabolism, the more it ramps up, the more effective or efficient your body becomes. So yeah, that's a good way. There are other ways, of course. Then we get into sauna therapy, red infrared, that we can truly get into sweat and targeting things. We get into dry lymph brushing. We get into various ways that we can clear, of course, various toxins in our body. So definitely starting off slower with more of the milder things, and the things that are going to last longer, like exercise, will be a great way to start off with detoxification. And of course, increasing fluids and eating the right foods.
So I wanted to endorse Dr. Frank's emphasis on the fiber that we're getting into our diets. I don't have expertise in colon hydrotherapy or the other techniques he was mentioning, so I can't speak on that. But for the fiber that is present in our food, I don't think people understand how important and powerful this is. It is a nutrient. We have water that's actually one of the essential nutrients in our bodies. Then we have nutrients that give us energy. Then we have nutrients that comes to fiber allows us to have bulk in our stool so we can evacuate the waste. Fiber actually helps us to decrease cholesterol levels in our bloodstream. Fiber also feeds the gut microbiome. If you're not familiar with that term, there are bacteria, actually more than the cells that are in our bodies, that live inside our colon, and they actually interact very closely with our immune system. So a lot of autoimmune diseases are connected to dysbiosis, which represents an imbalance in the gut microbiome population and their function in our colon. So it's really important what we eat, because it actually connects to our gut microbiome, which connects to all of our systems in the body. It's an amazing interplay of all these different parts of our body. But foods that contain fiber and nutrients are very important in allowing our colon to function properly and to be able to be clean on a regular basis without having to do additional things.
Can I just chime in real quick? I know I'm not part of the panel, but I'm one of the people in the background. America, we need to clarify something to you about fiber. There's two types. There's soluble, which you don't want. It's the insoluble fiber. And the reason why I'm breaking this point is wheat thins, even though it has the word wheat and thin to make you think it's a wheat that will make you thin, that is a soluble fiber. The insoluble fibers that Dr. Gail is referring to are the ones that are found in nature. The soluble fiber is a more processed form. So Metamucil is not a fiber, et cetera. So I just wanted to throw those 2 cents in there.
And we do have both those types of fibers present in nature as well. But as Dr. Colin Ross was saying, there are these different types of fibers. Both are important, and your body is the foods just have these naturally. But as we were saying, the point is fiber is important. You want to eat foods with fiber.
Okay, thank you all for that. Those were great responses. We have another question. It says, does stress cause inflammation throughout the whole body? And I'll open it up to the panel.
So I'm sure Dr. Frank's gonna have a piece on this, so I'll be short. But as we were discussing, it's an interplay because of the mind-body connection. So stress is our body's response. And because we have that mind-body connection, we recognize something as stress. It leads to this physiologic kind of activation in our bodies. And it can lead to levels of inflammation. For example, our immune system, if it's not working properly, we're going to have issues dealing with fighting infections, chronic damage over time, which can happen when your blood pressure is elevated for persistent levels, or your blood pressure is elevated persistently. That's something that can lead to inflammation, because over time, having high blood pressure causes damage to your blood vessels. It causes damage to your cardiac muscle. And that creates inflammation, because inflammation is the body essentially responding to damage. So if the body has to constantly respond to damage, that actually leads to fibrosis, and in time can lead to dysfunction or non-function of an organ. So there is a relationship there. It's not just a direct one, like stress equals inflammation, bam. It's an interplay, and that's how a lot of things in the body works. We have a lot of different factors that influence things, but it's one of the things that can contribute in that way.
Yeah, I definitely second everything that Dr. Davis said, in that it definitely is an interplay. It's a back and forth, because the human body is made up of multiple organs, multiple organ systems, and all of these organ systems play a role in, making sure that we're doing well. So when we come to the immune system and we say stress, and how stress eating and sugar can affect your neutrophils or the specific immune cells, your immune system also creates a bit of inflammation to be able to fight against certain disease processes. So that's the cascade or the whole line of effect that stress can have on the body. So that's a key thing. It's more of like, what is the stress leading to physiologically, physically? The high blood pressure damaging the inside of your arteries, that can then lead to these immune cells trying to go in and repair it. And then that can lead to, fat deposition and platelets. And all of a sudden you have cardiovascular disease, which is, whether it's, clogged arteries here and there. So stress in general just leads us, or allows us to be in a state where we have more interplay that could lead to more inflammation. So yeah, definitely the interplay and the different pieces involved are more involved with stress, rather than the stress being directly related to inflammation.
Okay. We also have another question here. It says, do organic food products help us deal with stress?
So I'll start off with that one. Organic food products. So here's the thing with organic versus inorganic foods. I'll refer to the EWG Environmental Working Group, and you can look them up, ewg.org, I think. They have a clean 15 and a dirty dozen. So there are different types of foods that you definitely want to consume that are organic, that are pesticide-free, that are free of all these toxins that can build up in our body. But there are some foods that are actually okay for us to buy inorganically. Example, bananas. Bananas have a peel, that we don't eat the peel for the most part. We eat what's on the inside. So having organic foods gives us a better opportunity to have a better functioning body. But just having whole foods in general, and when I say whole foods, I mean getting your veggies, your fruits and vegetables, whether they be in a raw form, broth, soups, just having organic foods, non-processed foods are a great way to give our bodies nutrition, give them all the nutrients we need, B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin A, all of these vitamins that are essential in helping the body function. And on the topic of vitamins, even when you talk about, vitamin C being so powerful as an antioxidant to prevent oxidative stress. So this is a different type of stress in which oxygen and free radicals and these little things in our body can damage our cells, damage our blood vessels, and lead to a lot of these disease processes or even physical issues that we have. So having the right foods, just by having the right amount of vitamin C, or foods that contain vitamin C, from, of course, oranges to, I like to say, taste the rainbow, because all these different colors of foods have all these different types of nutrients. So organic foods, yes. There are some that you can consume inorganically, but all in all, having whole foods are going to be the way to go.
I just wanted to second one thing from Dr. Frank. Everything he explained that's exactly how I think about it. And not to think of organic as the kind of, it's like the on a pedestal, you don't want to stress over that and then not be able to get the nutrients from whole foods in general, because that's really what you're after. There are enough nutrients in the foods that we have available, even though organic is the best. Why? Because it's nothing has touched it, and that's how we used to cultivate food. We don't do that anymore. So what we consider our normal produce is actually the produce that's been, cultivated with pesticides, but you can wash them as well. And that's one way to decrease pesticide residue in foods, to wash them thoroughly.
Okay, great. I'm going to combine these next two as they're sort of related, and maybe this is something you could probably answer later on part of it. But it says, are any of you taking new clients? And if so, can we have your contact information? Great presentation. And along with that, does anyone have any information on the new weight loss medication that was just approved by the FDA? I'm going to open that up to our medical naturopathic.
I can comment on the new FDA approved drug, and yes, we do all have contact information. So just to speak on the new drug, so it's called semaglutide, which is actually it's a type of drug used to treat diabetes. So it really was, what was noticed was that individuals who are taking this type of drug lost weight in the process of having their diabetes treated. And so this type of drug is a little bit more potent than the drugs that were used, the kind of initial starter therapy for those who have type 2 diabetes. And it's very effective. That's what the studies have shown, that it's actually almost comparable to the effects that you get when people undergo bariatric surgery. So the thing about obesity medications is they're part of a comprehensive treatment. And I think that there are lots of ways that people can approach trying to manage obesity and treat obesity, and eventually move to a place where obesity is not something that is increasing their risk of health issues. So I am supportive of using a multimodal approach. I think a lot of people who have weight that's excess weight that maybe isn't having significant, I would say, are contributing to their risk significantly. Maybe they're just in the overweight category, or they're in kind of a class 1 obese category, which is kind of your milder form of obesity. Your BMI is over 30 at that point. Interventions, lifestyle focus interventions can be very effective and enough. But for other individuals who have severe obesity, kind of class 3 obesity, where your BMI is greater than 40, and you also have additional conditions like type 2 diabetes or heart disease or high blood pressure, things like that, surgery might be the option for you, and medications might be the option for you to assist you in a lifestyle focused approach, which has got to be the foundation. Because you could do all the surgery you want, you can take all the medications you want, but if you're what you're eating and how that's going into your body, what you're providing to your body to build itself up to actually burn that excess stored energy, is not going to change the effects of the surgery and the medication. The foundation has got to be what we're putting in our bodies, how we're engaging in physical activity, how we're managing stress. And those are tools to help us on that health journey.
Can I comment real quick on something too? I find these weight loss drugs interesting, and I'll tell you why. Probably our naturopath can enlighten us a little bit more on this. The signals of satiety in the body, one is called alkalization. What happens is when you typically consume a food, it's an acidic environment in the stomach. When that load or chime goes into the duodenum or the small intestine, a signal is actually sent to the brain, the lateral hypothalamus, and that tells you you're full. But here's the trick. If that food slowly moves from the stomach to the duodenum, that is what produces the signal of satiety. What has happened in America is people eat too fast. I could go through all of the neurochemical changes that happen with cranial nerve 10 and the parasympathetic response, and we can go on and on and on. The reason why I find this interesting, even with the gastric procedures, is if you eat slower, if you're eating the right foods, you produce the same signal of alkalinity, and there's foods that are more alkaline in the duodenum, therefore, hence, you would find the weight loss. There's a theory being perpetuated that you can't do it anymore, give up. Try the allopathic method. Even though I was trained as an allopath, I delve into everything. So the take-home message is, before you expose yourself to these substances, when you go to buffet, when you're sitting down for dinner, when you're sitting down for lunch, a simple thing of taking your time to eat good food actually produces the same result as these drugs that slow down your digestion in the small intestine.
Yeah, great points. Great points from Dr. Ross and Dr. Davis, especially when it comes to with medication. And I agree with Dr. Davis in that a lot of procedures and a lot of things are found or developed and mainly should be used in individuals who are at the more extreme or severe side of things. And we want to prevent any serious damage. We want to prevent the heart attacks, the strokes. We want to prevent a lot of those from happening. And natural ways to, of course, manage your food, manage your weight are great, but they do take time. So when it comes to obesity, if you are definitely in that higher BMI range, then considering and having, of course, a general conversation with multiple doctors about, the various things, because the drug is not the solution. The food is a longer term solution, but it's not the quickest. And we want to make sure to have a well-balanced approach. Now, with Dr. Ross even bringing up, the slow eating, and speaking of the parasympathetic system, I like to make sure that patients rest and digest. A lot of the time, we eat our meals in front of the TV, we eat very quickly, and that doesn't allow our bodies to, number one, produce the gastric juices or enzymes to digest the foods, and number two, to trigger some of the signals that tell our body that we've had enough. So just going back to stress, why are we eating in front of the TV? Why are we eating so quickly? Stress may be an underlying cause. So rest and digest, sit back, enjoy your meal, turn off the TVs. I actually saw a study that said family meals or sitting at the table as a family, the meal times have shortened, I think, from an hour all the way down to, if it's even 10 to 15 minutes now. So if we take that time to get back to being a family, sitting down together, discussing what happened throughout the day and enjoying our meals that are healthy and nutritious, that leads to better outcomes mentally, emotionally, and physically. So yeah, there are multiple approaches, but definitely ways that we can do it. And it just takes a team, all in all, to really approach or see what the best method might be for each individual. We like to practice in naturopathic medicine, which in holistic medicine, I'll say in general, we practice individualistic medicine. One protocol that I use for one patient may not be the same protocol that I'm going to use for you, because you're different individuals. So that's one thing for sure that we definitely want to impart on people. Oh, actually, yeah. I think they asked about seeing patients. Yes, I am accepting. I am accepting patients. I recently transitioned into private practice, so yes, I'm accepting patients, and we'll get that information out to everyone, and definitely be able to support from the ground up, physically, mentally, emotionally, and make sure that you're getting the totem. One of our principles is naturopathic doctors, which is treat the whole person. So that's definitely what I aim to bring.
Okay, great.
And for myself, I have some really exciting things that are coming up for you guys. Hopefully by this summer, you guys will be able to participate in some exercise videos that I'll be launching. In the meantime, I do teach group exercise classes 3 times a week. My contact information will be available. On the personal training client side, I'm extremely selective with that. However, I'm willing to work with people. But again, I'm going to have something launched out so that we can reach more people. And I did see a question that was directed towards me about exercises that you can do without the free weights or weight machine. And I saw some comments as well about people doing stuff in the pool. There are pool weights that you can use for sure. And just having the resistance of the water definitely helps, and you'll still work up a sweat with that. I saw some people with roller skates. Dr. Davis loves her some skates as well. And that's just a really fun way to get out there and start moving. I'm a huge fan of resistance bands. I brought some props over. So these are the loop resistant bands. You can put them around your arms and do some push-ups. You can put them normally around your legs for a bunch of different exercises that you can do. There are resistance bands of different natures. This is a long one that I've tied up for whatever I was doing at the time, but they come long and you just tie it to do whatever you need to do. Some of them have handles. That's actually preferential for most people, using the handles. And then my favorite thing, because a lot of people like to walk for exercise, just add an ankle weight. I love these things. It's so simple. They're light. They can go from 1/2 pound to up to 5 pounds, depending on what you want. They usually come in a set of 2, or you can get them at any of your local stores or retail distributors. But you can put them on your arms for when you're doing some extra punching or walking. I actually don't like when people walk holding hand weights, because it does something a little bit different for your grip. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, just putting them on your arms or around the wrist and just walking with them, and then walking with some at your ankles, of course. When I was working out at home, I would just put them on, and wow, it changes the dynamics of something as simple as a jumping jack or a squat or a lunge. It changes the dynamics so much, and it's something that, you know, almost anyone can do. So those are just a tidbit. There's plenty of options that are available. Walking is the best form of exercise. You can always start there, unless you're physically unable to walk, then you start with what you can, okay?
I second Alvona that walking is the best. What did you just say? That it's one of the easiest and the best forms of exercise and movement. So we want to thank you all so much again for joining us for our discussion today. Any other questions, we'll try to answer them out in email. So you can just send them to our email 31st at livingyourbestlife@gmail.com, I believe. And we just want to thank you again for spending this time with us. And we hope that this was really informative for you, and that it really inspires you to be able to take control of your health. You know, we have the opportunity to really enjoy life. And there's so many ways that we can go about doing that. And exercise is really one of our most powerful tools. So take advantage.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you for the great discussion, great panelists, and look forward to many more, you know, of these coming forward. We've got lots of stuff in the pipeline coming. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. That concludes our question and answer session, and we'll let Dr. Ross close us out with a few thoughts.
Wow, what a presentation, what a team. If this was like a relay race and the knowledge of, you know, the torch of knowledge was being passed from one runner to another, we started out with Usain Bolt, passed the torch to Carl Lewis, passed the torch to Jackie Joyner. And we got it all in one good nutshell. The main thing, folks, have fun. I mean, you know, happiness is the best medicine. And, you know, take these principles and concepts into mind that nothing is impossible to achieve. Remember, exercise was invented to combat the detriments of a sedentary lifestyle. Get up, get moving, enjoy your meals, enjoy your life, and consult the professionals when you need to. Remember, keeping in mind 68% of all diseases being treated right now as we speak in the medical system are preventable. You know, the first one, heart disease, even cancer. And The third is actually medical error. So you want to be careful where you're getting your advice from, and you want to get a comprehensive advice. The Lakers showed us that you can't rely on one or two players to make it out the first round. So if you want to do well in this life, check with your researchers, check with your nutritionists, and figure out a plan that works for you and make it fun. By the way, rumor has it that I have a cousin that grew up in very warm climate, and I'm still waiting for the videos and the evidence that this cousin of mine actually tried skiing, scuba diving, and I don't know about bungee jumping. That's not in the genetic material. But here's the point. She tried something new that was fun and moved and kept active. So remember, we'll be back, and we're glad that you came. July 17th is the next presentation. What's worth fighting for? It's about conflict resolution. And if we ever need to learn how to talk to each other, not at each other, beyond each other, about each other, behind the backs of each other, we definitely need to learn how to talk, resolve, so that we don't have conflicts and create stress, which is the most undertreated cancer attacking all organ systems of our body. So we'll be here. We'll see you there. And thank you for attending. That's all from me. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Looks like we're still on live as well.
Great job, everyone.
Good job.
We can pull out of the live now.